Hi, welcome back to the Weekly Why. This week we have Parsha Toldot. Toldot means generations or descendants, and here we meet the two sons of Isaac. Isaac, of course, is the son of Abraham, so it goes Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And Abraham has Isaac and Ishmael, and then Isaac, of course, has Jacob and Esau, and then, of course, Jacob is the father of the 12 sons. And so here I want to talk a little bit about Jacob and Esau. These are the two sons of of Isaac and his wife Rebekah. Just a few interesting points about them, and I think we can gain a few valuable lessons from it. So it's interesting, these are twins that come out of the womb the same time, and yet they're described in very different ways. We have Esau, the firstborn son, and he is described as a man of the field. That's in Genesis 25, verse 27. That's Esau, a man of the field. And yet we have Jacob, the younger of the two, and the description of him is a man who stayed in the camp, a mild man who stayed in the camp. So we have one, a man of the fields, and another one, a mild man who stayed in the camp. Now it's very interesting here. This already, we have a little bit of background on the two. Now Esau, the first one, the man of the camp, it's very interesting. We're told that his father Isaac loved him because he provided him game. Game is in like, he was a hunter, and he provided this food. He was a real man, he was a hairy man, and this was the kind of personality that he was. But it's kind of enigmatic. It's very strange because on one hand we have Esau, he rejects his birthright, in other words, his right of being the firstborn son. He sells that for a pot of stew or soup to his brother Jacob. Very strange. On the other hand, he is very honorable to his father. He definitely holds a lot of respect and honor for his father. And then indeed later in the Parsha, when Isaac is giving blessings, he's absolutely just broken inside when he doesn't get this blessing. So it's weird. On the one hand, this very brash, aggressive hunter kind of brother, all of a sudden, he just falls apart when he doesn't get this blessing that he wants. And he seems to be very close and respectful to his father, while at the same time just giving away his birthright as a firstborn son for a bowl of soup. I mean, it seems very strange. He seems to be across the board here. A couple other questions, of course, is that later on in the blessing which, of course, that Isaac, who is now blind, then gives to his two sons, his two sons, Jacob and Esau. This blessing was supposed to be for the older son. It was supposed to be for Esau, but Rebekah fooled Isaac into thinking that his other son got it. Now what's interesting is that why did Rebekah fool her husband Isaac into giving this blessing to Jacob instead of Esau? Because of course he's the firstborn son. Now a lot of the commentators say, just even before we get into that blessing, that ultimately the kind of person who Esau was, he was what we would call an observant fellow. There was no Torah at the time. One probably couldn't even call him Jewish at the time. But basically, he was an observant, God-fearing, righteous person, in a sense. In the sense that he did what was necessary, and he thought that was his ticket to the world to come. Now, Jacob, on the other hand, that wasn't his perspective. His perspective was much more of a focus. As again, Jacob was a man of the tents. He stayed inside. He was a mild-mannered man. Esau was a man of the field, who also happened to be, a guy who respected his family and etc. But already we can see the different priorities here. Now it's very interesting that the blessing, moving forward a bit, the blessing that was originally meant for Esau, which Rebekah, his mother, gave to the other son, this is the blessing. It says, "May God give you the heavens and the earth, the dew of the heavens and the fat of the earth, abundance of grain and wine. Peoples will serve you, and nations will bow down to you. You'll be master over your brothers, and your mother's sons will bow to you." In other words, it's very clear, this real physical. It's not saying, may God give you peace and justice. It's saying, may the nations, will you have wealth and power. Question is, why would Rebekah give that to Jacob? Esau is the man. He's the real tough guy. He's the hairy guy. He's the guy who goes out there and he's hunting. Why would she give it to the little yeshiva boy, the little yeshiva pasty little white kid, when she couldn't have given it to the much tougher kid? Here's the point. The point is that Esau would have squandered it. Esau's goal, his focus in life, was the attainment of material wealth. He was a man of the fields. That was his focus. His main goal was to achieve material wealth, affluence, and of course, hunt these great game. Whereas the focus, now he was still what we would call, generally at this point, a righteous person. And yet at the same time, we have his brother Jacob, who his focus was, in the tents. What does that mean? It means that his focus wasn't on the material trapping, so to speak. It was on connecting with, the infinite. It was about learning and studying. It was about much more, let's say, lofty goals. Now, the reason that Rebekah fooled her husband into giving this blessing, this about physical power and strength, to Jacob and not to Esau, was because she knew that Esau would squander it. To Esau, this power and wealth and influence would only be a means to more power and influence. Whereas for Jacob, that power and influence and opportunity and wealth, that would ultimately only provide him a chance to be a better person, to grow more, to learn more, to have more of a positive impact. And of course for us, obviously, I think the parallel is clear, is that if we focus on our work or on any indeed external factor, is that it will often become an end in itself, especially with the trappings of material wealth. We can focus on that and focus on that and focus on that. We can say, I'll work really hard and I'll be able to provide for my family. I'll eventually be able to retire young and I can do something with my time. But the point is that it rarely happens that way. When our focus is on something as an end in itself, wealth or power, we're rarely going to get out of that cycle. But the point is that even if we have to work long hours at something, work or anything else, even if we have to put our focus into things that are not the true meaning of life, the point is that we need to do all of that with the perspective it is a means to an end. Certainly that we work to live, but what does live mean? It doesn't mean work to live so we can pay our bills and eat and then live a life and die. It means so we can accomplish something valuable in our lives. It means that we can achieve that kind of spiritual highness, that devekut, that closeness, that connection to God. It means we can achieve that level of knowledge. It means we can reach out to our fellow Jews. It means so much more than simply, paying the bills. And I think that's the reason that Rebekah gave this blessing about power and wealth, not to Esau, but to his brother Jacob. Because it was Jacob who would use it. He wouldn't use it to sit on his laurels all day. He would use it to have a real impact, to expand himself and to expand the world around him. My blessing, of course, for all of us is that we can use every wealth that we have, not just money, but intelligence, good looks, anything at all that we have. Of course, yours truly has all of that. Anything, of course, that we have that we know is a skill or a value or a gift that we have, we need to use that for the right reasons and always know that ultimately it's only a means to an end. And of course, that end is to achieve true truth with a capital T, value, and closeness to God for us and for the Jewish people. If we can have that, we're well on our way. Best wishes, Shabbat Shalom, God bless.